Hi, it's Laurent from t-tactical. Today another review of an Extrema Ratio knife. In this case it will be the brand new model, the Contact in black. The history behind that model is that it's the first full-size model with the new architecture that Extrema Ratio is implementing on the range. So those knives of that new category will be new architecture, let's say new philosophy, will be generally more stabby, so more pointy, better perforation, lighter. They will have that typical H structure, so you can see with the groove you have a little bit more matter on the sides of the groove than in the middle, so that's the H structure that has some advantage that we will talk about later. And the price is generally lower than models from the same level earlier. So this knife is basically based on the Requiem that has been reviewed on this channel too. It's basically a Requiem but on steroids. So it's a full-size knife with that spear point shape that the Requiem had. The first full-size knife also to have that new handle that will become the standard for full-size knives, and the new sheath that that is also inspired of the sheath of the Mamba and the Requiem. So the steel is as usual the N690 from Böhler, an Austrian steel. The blade is, as I say, the spear point with a groove, so that H structure. It has a thickness of 6.3 millimeter, which is a quarter of an inch, and a length of 162 millimeters for the blade, and the knife is overall about 30 centimeters long. So the coating is black. It's a typical coating from Extrema Ratio, one of the best on the market. If I show you, this is my my task, also from Extrema Ratio. It has that coating. I have that knife since I don't know how many years. It has been used a lot for some work with wood and preparing fire, batoning and so on. And the coating, even though the texture has changed a little bit, didn't really go off. So this is a very good quality coating. It will last a lot in time. So about the handle now, that's the new handle system. It is different from the previous standard handle in a few ways. So the basic assembly is about the same. You have part of the blade, so that the tang goes through in both cases, except that in the older models you had the assembly through a screw on the side, and in this case you have a screw on the bottom. It's not the blade that has directly the screw on it. It is a separate piece that is attached to the blade, and it has a special structure inside the handle so that everything sticks together very tightly. So once it is tight, it won't move, won't rattle or anything. So other than that, this new handle also has a slightly different geometry. You can see it here. If I show you on the older model, you can see that if you have wide fingers, this might be a hotspot, which is not the case if you look at this one. It will accompany the shape of the hand a little bit better. The other difference is that you will have a slightly shorter handle in this case, maybe 2 or 3 millimeters less, but it doesn't show when you handle the knife, so that's definitely not a problem. There is still a lot of room on the knife. And last thing about the differences, even though both are still in forprine, this one is slightly harder now. Again, you really need to compare side by side the older and the newer to see the difference, but it is slightly harder. Even though as it is forprine, it still has that characteristic of being kind of in the middle between softer plastic and hard rubber. So you have the best of both worlds, where it will have a very good grip, but won't fall apart like some rubber can, and also won't be too brittle like some plastics can be. So it gives a good compromise on the handle. Now about the build, I explained already a lot about that, so how it is assembled. Another thing to mention about that is as they have that new philosophy of architecture, you have the groove, you have that other grind on the top. So what happens is that for a same weight you get a little bit of extra blade length, as there is not so much matter here and here, and this is still okay with the strength of the blade, as this structure is very effective to keep a good strength on the blade. Other advantage that you get with this new assembly system is that compared to the older one, you have a little bit more weight on the back because the screw is here, and you have a little bit less weight on the blade side, so the balance of the knife is slightly improved, which is not a huge difference, but it's a difference in the good way, so it's always good to take. Now the weight of the whole knife is 300 grams. About the sheet now, we have so a new generation of sheet, which is a combination of a hard nylon sheet and a textile part. So as you can see, the textile part is very minimalist. It has been worked in that way, that to achieve that goal. Everything is modular, so if you want to remove this strap, you can do it very easily. It has Velcro on it, so it's easy to remove, easy to put back, and won't move if you don't want it to move. The knife has two retention systems. The first one is this one that I just showed. If you are not a big fan of that, as I explained, you can just remove it. And the second safety is here, and I will talk about that a little bit later. So the sheet is constructed that way, with that hard part and soft part. Soft part is belt compatible and has that leg strap. The leg strap is also non-slipping, has a non-slipping material lining and an elastic portion to improve, to improve the comfort when it is around the leg. So now if you remove that tie strap like this, you can just pull it out completely. If you want to keep the knife without the leg strap, you will have to block this piece. This is very important because it's the leg strap, this piece, it's the leg strap that keep it in place. And if you don't, you can just remove this part completely, and then you end up with just the hard part, which is MOLLE compatible. The spacing between those attachments will be exactly the same as on MOLLE webbing. So that means that when you will put that on a leg panel, a vest, a bag, or whatever, the spacing will be right in the MOLLE webbing. Then you can just use a standard MOLLE attachment strap to slide inside, and it will be attached as any other MOLLE compatible system. Now about this this sheet, it also has the second safety that I talked about. You can see here that safety is obviously automatic, and to release the knife it's very easy. You just press with the thumb and it's gone. So it is just the right level of sensitivity, doesn't stick out too much, so there is no risk of accidental loss of the knife. Just press, it releases, and the knife is free. It's strong enough also to have a tip-up carry if you want to carry it that way on a vest, for example. And that safety is also very interesting because you can disassemble it. The spring is present on the other side, and you will be able to put it on the other side if you are left-handed. Now about the use of the knife. That knife is advertised as a multi-purpose knife. It can be used that way, but for me, I wouldn't necessarily put it in that category. If I want to do some general work, let's say, I will go for a task or something like that. But given the shape of this knife, which is mainly, as it's a spear point, it's mainly meant for piercing, it will still be more oriented towards tactical use. So it will still be very able to produce good general work, but I wouldn't use it to split wood, for example. So that's something to keep in mind. Now about the handling of the knife, those new handles don't change a lot compared to the previous ones, but it is definitely not a problem, as the previous ones were already very comfortable. Here you get a few advantages that I explained already, and on this specific knife you can see that the handling is very nice, as you have some room if you want to be close to the guard, or if you want to have a little bit more space if you need to hit something with the blade to cut small wood or whatever. You can do it in a comfortable way. If you need to do some work that is a little bit more precise, I like those two knives for that same reason. Here, if you want to do something precise, as you have only the guard on the bottom, you have a good protection against any accidental slip on the edge with your hand, but also you don't have a guard on the top, so you're free to put your thumb wherever you want on the blade. And it's very well designed here because you have that jimping and that flat portion here, so it will have a very good retention, very good grip here. But also, if you want to do something more precise, you can go quite high with your thumb and still keep a lot of control over the blade while you work with it. So this is definitely in that way very well suited for multi-purpose blade. I would just go for something more specialized to the heavy work if you want to go for heavy work. Otherwise, if you need a knife that is capable of basically everything from medium work to tactical application without losing in any field, you definitely will like this knife. About the price, this is the black version, obviously. It has the black coating and the black handle. It's €290. Now if you go for the color versions, none of them have that finish. The black finish is only on the black knife. The other versions will have the stonewash finish and the handle in the color you choose. The available colors are the Ranger Green, Desert, and HCS, which is kind of a coyote, dark desert or brownish color, and finally the wolf gray. Those versions are in that case a little bit lower price because they are €250. So that's about it for that new model, the Contact from Extrema Ratio. As this is a new generation, don't hesitate to give comments, give feedback. If you had a chance to use it already on a show or something, that's always interesting to talk about it. What do you like about that blade? Maybe what would you change? It's very interesting to have the feedback, as I know that the company is listening to the customers. So that's about it for that knife. If you have any question, just feel free to send me a message. And until then, see you later. Bye.